Shabbat Shalom, family. Glory and honor and power and might and blessing and strength be to Father Yahweh, the Most High, the only true God, the God that created everything that lives on planet Earth, and he created the children of Israel as his chosen people. The God that named Abraham and Isaac and Israel, who sent his son as the manifestation of his righteousness and wisdom in Messiah Yahushua, who he has appointed the high priest and the soon coming king of the planet. Blessing and glory and honor to him and to Messiah Yahushua. Greetings to the 12 tribes, scattered according to this book into the four corners of the earth through slavery. Greetings to the 144,000 who are among them, being prepared to receive the seal of Father Yah, of his spirit, that they might give a final call to his chosen people before Babylon is forever destroyed. Greetings to the Gentiles who have heeded the call early and have come out of her and come to the truth of the faith of Messiah, which is Father's perfect righteousness. Greetings to the chat, Brother Akawan Banya, Brother Only One Way, Brother Diamond Holdings, Sister Wade, Sister Isha Shama and her husband, Brother Gary Joseph, my brother also Imana Bakash, Chaplain Lewis, Sister Daniels, and all others, greetings. Praise the Most High Yah. I want to, first of all, before we get into the word of the Most High, we're studying Deuteronomy chapter 15 today. I want to first ask if you all would pray for our sister. Her name is Sister Elaine, but she's also known as Sister 12 Gates, and she's also known as Sister Bathaman, her Hebrew name. I have known her for, I'd say 20 years, close to 20 years, probably good 18 years. She has stuck with me through all my iterations of this ministry. This ministry started as a Seventh-day Adventist ministry in 2004 as the Raw Remnant. She was there. And at that point, we went from there to leaving the Seventh-day Adventist church, and she stuck with me. And from there, and she's always been a moderator on all of the channels I've had. And from there, growing, learning I was a Hebrew and coming into that truth, and she stuck with me. And she's been there the whole time. I flew down to Texas. This was probably 2005. 2005 in the summer, and baptized her in a pool. And she lived in these buildings, in these project type buildings, and I baptized her there, and went down. And it was down. I flew into Dallas, but where she lived was way out in the country somewhere. And she's been with me all of that time, and she's been faithful. Most High has blessed me to have her there with me to help me. She has recorded every lesson I have ever done from 2004. She has the library of hundreds. There's nobody else that has that library of all the stuff I did from 2000 until from the time it was the Raw Remnant to when it became the Raw Hebrew Remnant. That was about 10 years ago. And so she is on her deathbed right now. She's in hospice, and the Most High is about to put her to sleep. I got a couple of messages from her daughter today letting me know that. And so I was telling my wife that, I may be having to go to Texas soon, unexpectedly. But, the Most High let's read the word now with regard to this. But please pray for her, Bathaman, otherwise known as Sister Elaine, otherwise known as 12 gates, like the 12 gates around in New Jerusalem. Um, Revelation chapter 14. Revelation chapter 14. Let's look at a couple of witnesses on this. Revelation chapter 14, beginning at verse. I'm going to start at the third angel at verse 9 and read down from verse 9 down to verse 13. Revelation chapter 14 from verse 9 down to verse 13. And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And the smoke of their torment ascendeth up forever and ever, and they have no rest day nor night who worship the beast and his image, and whosoever receiveth the mark of his name. Verse 12, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Yah and the faith of Yahushua. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in Yahweh from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow. There are people that at this time in history that are faithful to the truth from all types of backgrounds. Sister Bathaman was a redneck from Kansas, okay? And she came to this truth, and I baptized her. You know, this was, like I said, must have been more than 2005. When is that? 17 years ago. And so, you know, she came to this truth. Her family thought she was crazy, and she was standing firm, you know, in this truth. And there are people that the Most High will allow to be put to rest before the final events move out, because it gives them a chance to rest and not go through what we're about to go through, which is going to be serious. And he does it to save them. Blessed are they that die in the master from henceforth, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Let's look at Isaiah as a second witness. Isaiah chapter 26. Isaiah chapter 26. I'm going to start at verse 19 and go from verse 19 of Isaiah 26 to verse 21. Isaiah chapter 26 from verse 19 to verse 21. Thy dead men shall live. Together with my dead body shall they arise. Awake and sing, ye that dwell in the dust. For thy dew is as the dew of herbs, and the earth shall cast out the dead. Come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors about thee. Hide thyself, as it were, for a little moment, until the indignation be overpast. For behold, Yahweh cometh out of his place to punish the inhabitants of the earth for their iniquity. The earth also shall disclose her blood, and shall no more cover her slain. You see how it says, come, my people, enter thou into thy chambers, and shut thy doors. That's the grave. See, he said, you're going to be resurrected. Your dead people are going to live. He said, but come and rest. See, because he said, I'm about to come out and do business, and I'm going to let y'all rest while this goes on. See, one more from Isaiah. Which is really the same witness. So we really have two witnesses from, we have one from Revelation and one from Isaiah. And I'm sure I could find a third witness if I wanted to, but for the sake of time, let me see here. Here it is. Isaiah chapter 57. Isaiah 57. Isaiah 57 is saying basically the same thing, but these are just two witnesses. We got two from Isaiah and one from Revelation. So here, in Isaiah 57, I'm going to start at verse 1 and read verse 1 and 2. Isaiah 57, verse 1 and 2. The righteous perisheth, and no man layeth it to heart. And merciful men are taken away, none considering that the righteous is taken away from the evil to come. He shall enter into peace. They shall rest in their beds, each one walking in their uprightness. So sometimes the Most High is allowing some of us to be put to rest so that he can save us. And because the indignation is coming, as we have read in both Revelation and here in Isaiah. And I can, like I said, I can find more, but you guys get the point. So pray for our sister that she rests in peace. That if the Most High decides to let her rest, that she rests in peace and rise in power. And I praise the Most High for the 18 plus years that I have known her, and that she has stuck by my side, helping me. The Most High has used to help me. Now, we've had our differences over the 18 years, but we've always come back. That's my sister right there. She's 76 years old. And yes, just pray for Sister Bathaman, otherwise known as Sister 12 Gates, otherwise known as Sister Elaine. And if you would just remember her in the prayers and her family. She really only, today I was talking to her daughter. She has her daughter and her grandkids and myself. That's it. Okay. And so, but most of all, she has the Most High, doesn't she? She has the Most High. So we praise the Most High, Yah. We praise Messiah. And I know that right now, as she is laying in her bed, an angel is right there next to her. And he is going to be there for that servant when she gets called forth. So we praise the Most High for her. We praise the Most High for her faithfulness. And we pray that she rests in peace and rise in power, and that her family gets comforted in this situation. All right. So today we're dealing with Deuteronomy chapter 15. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Now, let's go. I want to go first to Ezekiel chapter 36. You see, brethren, one of the hallmarks of any successful society is how they treat their poorest people. When you see societies treat their poorest with contempt, you're watching the end of that society. You're watching the end of it. In the United States of America, for example, and I can't speak of other countries because I don't live in any other country. I've grown up and born in the United States. But y'all tell me if I'm speaking the truth here. In the United States, when somebody is poor, the people that are wealthy will make the poor people sound like either A, they're lazy, or B, their poverty is their own fault, and C, they need to help themselves. And anything they do to help, they make a big deal out of it, like they're doing something big, but they're really, not helping at all. Okay. Or they'll say they don't work. Now, the Bible says plainly, who doesn't work shouldn't eat. But the poverty stricken today in the United States are mostly what is termed working poor. What does that mean? That means, and I've been in this situation, that means they're not earning enough money to meet basic expenses. We're not talking about vacations. We're not talking about bank account saving money. We're talking about being able to pay your rent or your mortgage, pay your electric bill, your phone bill, your heating bill if you have one, and buy food. People work, sometimes both, if it's a family working, and don't have enough so that their ends don't meet the end of their month. Got more month than means. Okay. And then if you need stuff like food stamps, you can't make over a certain amount of money and get the food stamps. So in that amount, you'd have to be living in the street or be on Section 8. So if you are trying to hustle and work, but you can't, your month is longer than your ends, and you ask for food stamps, they might give you a few dollars. We had at the time, we had my wife and 3 children, and it was just me working. And they were giving us a little bit in food stamps, but it wasn't enough. And if the brethren wasn't supporting for us, and again, that was a time when I didn't ask nobody for no money. I didn't. But people just, the Spirit of the Most High is so good. People started writing checks and putting them and sending them to my mailbox. I didn't even give people my address. They found my address. One person found it, told other people, and they were sending me checks. And now it wasn't large money, but it was enough for us to pay some bills, get some food. At that time, we were in what's called survival mode. Survival mode is there's an order. The first order is food. That's the first order. Okay. And if I got to work, the second order is gasoline. It's not the car payment. It's gasoline because I got to get to work. Then you see what else you got. That's survival mode. So the first thing is food. Then there's gasoline. Then you figure it out. Okay. Now, when you're in that position in this country, they make you sound it's your fault. You messed up. You lazy. All of those things. And so the United States, which is the richest country in the world, has 600,000 people living on the street. And most of those people are children. And that's not including the people that are not homeless, but are struggling for basic ends and working. You see, if you're a woman and you got 2 children or 3 children, and your husband is not around, maybe he's in jail, maybe he's dead, maybe he just left, you are not going to be able to pay your rent, make your ends meet on $15 an hour. You're not going to be able to do it. And I've seen them doing it, trying. And they'll work 2 jobs, try to get 33 hours here, 33, 40 hours here, and killing themselves just to make the end of the month. And that's how you know when a country is doomed, because Israel did that also. When our fathers came back out Persia to build the temple, the second temple, Ezra and Nehemiah and the leaders, Zechariah, Haggai, they had to rebuke the leaders of the people, the richest people, because they had put mortgages on people's lands. They had interest. In the Bible, we're not supposed to be charging interest to each other. The Muslims copied us with that. They don't do that to this day. They got banks in Muslim countries don't pay interest, don't charge interest. Okay, but they got that from us. The Father gave that to us, and our people started holding mortgages so that the prophets had to rebuke them and they had to forgive the debt. And the Most High, as we're going to read here in Deuteronomy chapter 15, he had several protections for the poor. Several protections he had for the poor. And we're going to see that. And what you see today in some of these laws that you see on the books, the ideas came from the Most High. They just adjusted them, for their own gain, for their own means. But you'll see. Okay. Now, because our fathers disobeyed the Most High, started charging interest, started having slaves as Hebrews as slaves and not letting them free, started causing people to be put in debt, their own people. Because they did that, they were kicked off the land. And of course, they were worshiping other gods. And we know just from me mentioning this, one of their gods was money. They were kicked off the land. Okay. In fact, I'm not going to read Ezekiel 36. Let's go right to Deuteronomy. Let's go right to Deuteronomy chapter 15. Let's go right to 15. So you're going to see in just this little chapter 15, some of the provisions that the Most High made for the poor. Now, in the last chapter, we saw provision. It was the tithe, right? Every 3 years, the Israelites were to bring their tithe, the first of their flocks, the firstborn of all their flocks, the first fruits of their fields. They were to bring those herds, those first fruits, the best of their wine and their strong drink, as we saw. In fact, let's look at it in Deuteronomy chapter 14. Deuteronomy chapter 14. I'm going to start at verse 22 of Deuteronomy 14 and read down to verse 29. Deuteronomy 14 from 22 to 29. Thou shalt truly tithe all the increase of thy seed, that the field bring forth year to year. So the increase of the field, so your corn, your vegetables, your fruits, whatever you have, you're going to bring 10% of that to Jerusalem. Plus the firstborn of your goats, your sheep, your oxen. You bring all that to Jerusalem. When you make your wine, they used to make their wine from the grapes, okay? The best of your wine, bring all that, okay? And thou shalt, in verse 23, and thou shalt eat before Yahweh thy Most High in the place which he shall choose, that was Jerusalem, to place his name there, the tithe of thy corn, of thy wine, of thy oil, the firstlings of thy herd, of thy flocks, that thou mayest learn to fear Yahweh thy Most High always. So where were they bringing this to? Well, we're going to see it's for the poor, the fatherless, the widow, and the Levite. First, they went to Ephraim and Shiloh. But then once David became king, it was changed to Jerusalem. But at first they did this in Shiloh at Ephraim. Okay, they bring all their stuff there and they meet there, year by year. At the Day of Atonement and the Feast of Tabernacles, they go there and bring all of this stuff there. Okay, let's continue. Verse 24. And if the way be too long for thee, so that thou art not able, thy Most High shall choose to set his name there, when Yahweh thy Most High have blessed thee, then thou shalt turn it into money and bind up the money in thine hand, and thou shalt go unto the place which Yahweh thy Most High shall choose. So money was the last resort. It was really food. See that? Flocks, herds, produce. It was food that they would bring. But if it was a far distance and they couldn't bring all that produce and all that stuff, because there wasn't no cars and trucks then they could sell it, turn it into money, bring the money there, and then buy what they wanted. Notice, we get there, verse 26. And thou shalt bestow that money for whatsoever thy soul lusteth after, for oxen, or for sheep, or for wine, or for strong drink, or for whatsoever thy soul desireth. And thou shalt eat there before Yahweh thy Most High, and thou shalt rejoice, thou and thy household. It was party time. See, that's in the land. Now, we're not there now. But, like we got this fellowship coming up in Memorial Day weekend. We did this in West Virginia a couple of years, like 2, 3, 4 years ago, something like that. And it was party. We partied. We was praising the Most High Yah and partying. It was us. It was my wife. It was the Daniels. It was the Mercers, the Fallars. Some of y'all gonna meet them when we come Memorial Day weekend. And we had a really high time, man. And we knew we weren't keeping the feast. And it was Memorial Day weekend like this one, but we weren't keeping the feast. But we were getting a foretaste, a little taste of what it's gonna be like when we in the land. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. We were dancing and singing. It was beautiful, man. And so, so let's continue. We're going to have fun this Memorial Day weekend, too. Okay. Where was I? Okay, verse 26. Okay, wait. Verse 27. Verse 27. And the Levite that is within thy gates, thou shalt not forsake him, for he hath no part nor inheritance with thee. At the end of 3 years, thou shalt bring forth all the tithe of thine increase the same year, and lay it up within thy gates. And the Levite, because he hath no part nor inheritance with thee, and the stranger, and the fatherless, and the widow, which are within thy gates, shall come and shall eat and be satisfied. That Yahweh thy Most High will bless thee in all the work of thy hand, which thou doest. So if you did this, he said, see, that's where these Christian con men gets a lot of people. The Lord gonna bless you. You give to the church. Wait. Did we see anything here about giving money to a church? Did we read anything about that here? The Lord gonna bless you. You give your money to the church. We can build the church building funds. Blah, 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 blah. No. See, they use it as a con. But he says here, if you give to the fatherless, the widow. See, there was no welfare back then. Not really none now that's going to help anybody. So they didn't have it. So if you had a woman that was a widow, that means her husband died. She had no means of support. Women didn't work outside the home. She had no means of support. So the food that they would bring up, save up the grain, they would save grain for 3 years, save fruits, all that stuff. She would get provided for. The nation would come together and provide for the sister. You see that? Provide for the sister. If you ever read the book of Ruth, when Naomi came back from Moab with Ruth, what did Ruth do? She went out into a field where they were reaping grain. And she went to Boaz's field. And Boaz let her do it. Why? Because that's how the Israelites did it. Because you had to leave some in the field for the poor, the widow, the fatherless. There was the widow. See? Ruth was a widow and Naomi was a widow. They had no man. So he let them take what they wanted and bring it back. That's how you do it in Israel. See? It's beautiful, man. So that takes care of the poor. It doesn't make them rich, but it provides them with basic necessities. And we're going to see more. We're going to see more in a minute. Wait. Okay, chapter 15. Tell me what this reminds you of now. Right? Deuteronomy chapter 15, 1 and 2. All right. When you get in the land now, Deuteronomy 15, 1 and 2. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called Yahweh's release. Now, what? Right. Now, that's just similar to what we could do here with bankruptcy, but the difference is Yahweh released it, which means it's not on your credit report for 7 years or 10 years or whatever, right? Right? It's not on your credit report for 10 years, right? It's not ruining your credit. It's just released. Okay? Here, it's almost like they make the bankruptcy law so that you're discouraged, and at the same time, in the capitalist system, among other things, brethren, is built and is successful by putting us in debt. Am I lying? The success of the capitalist system is created by creating debt. Okay, so you buy a house. How you do it? Cash? Some people can. I can't. How you do it? You get a mortgage. Okay, so now the bank is lending you whatever hundreds of thousands of dollars going to cost for your house. Well, you need furniture. Where you going to get that from? Furniture store. How you going to get it? Sign. We send you the furniture. Pay us every month. Right? You need a car? How you going to get that? Go to the dealer. What are they going to say? They're going to sit you in the back room with a whole bunch of paperwork, and you're going to walk out with a new car and debt. Right? So now that debt goes to the mortgage company, the bank is getting your money, and they're lending it out to other people at high interest, right? On credit cards and loans and things. That's what's going on. And then the furniture company, they paying their workers with the debt you just created. And the car company, the tire company, right? All of that. And it continues. It continues. And that doesn't include property taxes. You got to pay property taxes on the car. You got to pay property taxes on your house. And that debt keeps going. And what happens, brethren, and I've been here too, after a while, you can't make them ends meet with all of these debts. So what you do? You put it on your credit card. You put it on plastic, especially Black Friday, right? I don't do that. I'm just saying Somebody go Black Friday. Oh, this is on sale. Boom, credit card. Boom, there it is. Now you shop TV, whatever. More debt. Now, if you go into a recession, right? You go into a recession. What they want you to do? They want you to spend. So what happens now? You go into recession, and the recession means that there's more supply than demand. It's basic as that. So in other words, there's more stuff out there to buy than there's people to buy it. For whatever reason, layoffs, whatever, right? So then they start lowering the rates and people start getting their jobs back. And then what? More debt. The bank say, hey, you can buy a house now. You done fixed your credit. You can buy a house. You need a new car. You got a new car now. And this cycle continues. So that the whole game is debt. So in situations like this, like America, where you've been in debt like that, quite naturally, if you're not able to handle that debt, you're going to go into bankruptcy. And they discourage you from doing that. They make you look real bad. Oh, you had to declare bankruptcy. The whole system is built on debt. Okay? But here, there's a release. Why? Now, let's think about this now. Let me ask you all some questions. Are you ready? I'm going to ask you all some questions. Okay? Here's the first question. When our fathers went into the land, right? When they crossed Jordan, Joshua led them through the promised land, and they finally divided up the land. Was there any debt on that land? When Ephraim got his, when Joshua got, when Manasseh got his, when Judah got his, even when the Levites got their little service, was there any debt on it? No, there was debt on it. There was no debt on it. Okay, there was no debt. They don't owe nobody nothing. But let's say they had a bad crop or things didn't go right. They had to borrow money to make their ends, and they trying to pay it back, and they struggling. And every 7 years, debt's released. So there wasn't going to be no 30-year mortgage or 40-year mortgage. There wasn't going to be no 84-month car note. Y'all know these things happen, right? None of that was coming because every 7 years, all debt's forgiven. Okay. Now, that helped the poor. Widow struggling, she got to borrow in order to, make her ends meet, her children a little, so she can go every 3 years and get stacked up with food and cattle and such. And then every 7 years, whatever debt she had, that gets squashed. Okay, that's two ways. Now there's more. I mentioned one with Ruth. Let's keep reading though. Now, this is what Israelites, Hebrew Israelites on the land, right? So let's start again in Deuteronomy 15. I'm gonna start at verse 1. I'm gonna go down to verse 4. At the end of every 7 years, thou shalt make a release. And this is the manner of the release. Every creditor that lendeth aught unto his neighbor shall release it. He shall not exact it of his neighbor or of his brother, because it is called Yahweh's release. Of a foreigner, thou mayest exact it again. But that which is thine with thy brother, thy hand shall release. Say, when there shall be no poor among you, for Yahweh shall greatly bless thee in the land which Yahweh thy Most High giveth thee for an inheritance to possess it. He intended to make us the head. Other nations would come and borrow from us, and we can exact the debt from them for as long as we wanted to. But our own brethren, none of them should be in debt at every 7 years. None of them. Now I asked you a question. I said, was there any mortgages? No. So now, that means that when they got increase in the field, increase of their flocks, and they were blessed, that was free and clear money, right? Free and clear money. So now you can go ahead and take that. But now today, well, let me ask you this. You ready? Were there electric bills? Was there an electric bill in Israel? When we got the land, was there electric bill? Was there credit cards? Was their car notes? Were their property taxes? Look here. So the Bible says the borrower is the servant to the lender. And that's what I didn't understand when I was going to Christian churches, because they'd always say, take that 10% for the Lord off first. You ever heard that one? Take that 10% for the Lord off first. Remember that? And I used to be struggling to pay these other bills, man. And it was hurting me to pay tithe. It was hurting. And so let me tell you, when you, and tell me, in the United States, I don't know about other countries, but let me tell you about when you move into a house or an apartment in the United States, and let's say you moved in July. That's when a lot of people move in the summer, right? You have to turn the electricity on for you, right? They will turn it on for you, and you will not get a bill until after your first month. So they fronted you the electric. You didn't pay for the electric up front. They fronted you the electric. So you owe them. You owe the electric company that money before you give any tithes. Okay. You walked into the dealership. You need a car to get to work. Dealership say, sure. Here, sign the dotted line. You got a car. Now you owe them a car note. They fronted you the car. They fronted you the car. So when you get paid, you got to pay your electric bill and your car note before you pay any church. Does that make sense? Some of y'all still paying tithe to these churches. Does that make sense? Before you pay anything, you owe them people that gave you that electric and gave you that car. Okay? Wait a minute. You can't drive in some states unless you have insurance on your car. Insurance companies say, okay, we're going to charge you for 6 months, and this is the insurance. You got to pay that. You got to pay that first. Wait a minute. Not done yet. You live in a cold climate like Brother Akawan Banya or Sister Isha and Brother Ishama in New York, up in Michigan. They giving you heat, right? Like either it's oil heat, right? Or gas usually, correct? They either giving you oil or gas. They giving that to you so you don't freeze to death. When that bill comes in, you owe them. You got to pay them. Before you pay any tithe to anybody, you got to pay them. You owe that. See, when Jacob, the idea of tithe was first mentioned by Jacob. Okay? Jacob said, what did Jacob say? In fact, let's take a look at it. Genesis. Let's take a look at it. Genesis chapter 29. Genesis chapter 28. Genesis 28. Genesis chapter 28. I'm going to start at verse 10. I'm going to start at verse 10, and I'm going to read down from verse 10 down to verse 19. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Aram. And he lighted upon a certain place and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows and lay down in the place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, angels of Yah ascending and descending on it. And behold, Yahweh stood above it and said, I am Yahweh, most high of Abraham thy father, and the most high of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth. And thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and I will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and I will bring thee again into this land, and I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, surely Yahweh is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid and said, how dreadful is this place? This is none other but the house of Yah, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob arose early in the morning and took a stone that he had put for his pillows and set it up for a pillar and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bath-al. But the name of the city was called Luz at the first. Now watch verse 20. Watch verse 20 and 21 and 22. Watch what he says here. And Jacob vowed a vow and said, saying, if the Most High will be with me and will keep me in the way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall Yahweh be my Most High. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be Yah's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. So who's the tenth? He said to the Most High is given to the poor. So he's saying, if you give me food, you give me clothes to put on, and you give me my father's house, I go back to my father. Of all you give me, I'm gonna give you the 10. Now, Jacob wasn't talking about no mortgages. He wasn't talking about no electric bill. He wasn't talking about no property taxes. He wasn't talking about no heating bill. He wasn't talking about no food shopping. He was talking about owning his land, owning his flocks, owning his sheep, his ox. And he said, then I'll give to the poor. It wasn't going to no church. You don't get tied to no reverend, doctor, whatever, with no money. So there's a provision here. You got to be like Jacob. Are you like Jacob? You got all that stuff covered already? And then you can give to the poor? If you don't worry about it. You're not the only one. Okay? You hear what I'm saying? That's why the tithing system in the Christianity is a farce. It's garbage. It is a ripoff. The tithing system in Christianity is a ripoff. It's a farce. This is the true tithe that we're looking at here. Now, does that mean we can't help the poor? Of course, the principle is to help those that are less fortunate. And we talked about this. There's ways to do that. In our day and age, what it means is some cat is struggling and his electric bill is getting ready to come up, cut off, and you are aware of it, and you can help him. Help him. Some sister's struggling trying to pay for her kids, and you know her man's not there, and she needs something, food, clothes, sneakers, something, and you can help. If you can. Okay? That's how that goes. That's how it works. And guess what? You don't even need a church to do that, do you? You don't even need a church to do that. Okay? You don't. And check it out. And it's knowledge that will come across your face. Like, in other words, you might know the brother or the sister that's struggling like that. Nobody else might know, but you might know. And now, if the Most High impresses you, you might be able to throw a couple of dollars to them. You might be able to help provide food. You might be able to help provide. I knew a dude, he was a friend of mine. He was from Guyana, and he was Guyana, South America. And he used to collect clothes, Goodwill clothes from people, sometimes new clothes if they was on sale, and he put them in barrels. He had these barrels, man. And he filled the barrels with clothes and shoes and stuff. And then I think every 3 months or something, he'd mail it to Guyana for the poor people there that he knew. See, that's tithing. That's real tithing. That's how it's supposed to be. Okay, that's how it's supposed to be. Okay, so that's the Most High providing for the poor of Israel. Okay, now let's continue. Now, let's go back to chapter 15. Now, we're supposed to be the head, not the tail. We're supposed to be lending to other nations. Matter of fact, let me show you that. We're going to get to it when we get to Deuteronomy 28, but let me just give you a sneak preview. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Some of y'all, a lot of y'all read this already. Deuteronomy chapter 28. I'm going to look at Deuteronomy 28, and I'm going to start at verse, let me see. Let me start, man. I'm going to start at verse Well, let me read. I'm going to read verse 1 and 2 to start off with. And it in Deuteronomy 28, and it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahweh thy Most High, to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, that Yahweh thy Most High will set thee on high above all nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come on thee and overtake thee, if thou shalt hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Most High. What was the criteria? Obedience. Do you see that? The criteria, he said, if you hearken to observe and to do his commandments, I'm going to set you on high. If you hearken and do what I tell you, I'm going to bless you. Okay? Now, let's skip down. In same chapter 28, I'm going to start at verse 10, and I'm going to go from verse 10 down to verse 14. Watch this. We just taking the synopsis. I'm giving you a sneak preview. You can read this when you get a chance, but we're going to go through 28 heavy. But Deuteronomy chapter 28 from verse 10 to 14. And all people of the earth shall see that thou art called by the name of Yahweh, and they shall be afraid of thee. And Yahweh shall make thee plenteous in goods, in the fruit of thy body, in the fruit of thy cattle, in the fruit of thy ground, in the land which Yahweh sware unto thy fathers to give thee. Yahweh shall open unto thee his good treasure, the heaven, to give rain unto thy land in his season, and to bless all the work of thy hand. And thou shalt lend unto many nations, and thou shalt not borrow. Now let me ask you right now, are Hebrews lending unto many nations, or are we borrowing? There's no people in the United States with higher debt than Hebrews. Nobody. We got higher debt than anybody in every way. Student debt, personal debt, business debt. There's no debt like us. Okay, and we're borrowing from all of our enemies. We're borrowing from, the slight is on the fact that we not awake yet, and we not coming back to the commandments of Yah. But some of us here, I'm saying, some of us, I'm not talking about y'all. Y'all waking up, but there's a lot of our brethren out there that ain't woke yet. Let's keep going. Verse 13. And Yahweh shall make thee the head and not the tail. Thou shalt be above only, thou shalt not be beneath. If thou hearken unto the commandments of Yahweh thy Most High, which I command thee this day to observe and to do them. And thou shalt not go aside from any of the words which I command thee this day, to the right hand or to the left, to go after other gods to serve them. See? So the key is obedience. And as you and I know, that obedience is based in the perfect spirit of righteousness given to us from the Father. It is based in the faith of Messiah. That is our obedience. That is how we accomplish it, that Father will bless us. So as we return to the Father and we seek to give him the glory in obedience to him, he will take care of us. He will take care of us here, and he will take care of us all the way through, brethren. Praise his name. Let's go back to Deuteronomy 16 now. I'm sorry, 15. Deuteronomy 15 now. Sorry. Deuteronomy 15. So he said, he told me in verse 4, I'm going to bless you so greatly, there won't even be any poor anymore. But think about that. So every 7 years, all the poor would have all their debt forgiven. Every 3 years, they get tons, literally, thousands of pounds of grain, of cattle, of lambs to help them out. Every 3 years. The poor, the widow, the fatherless, the Levite, they get that. And if they had debt on their land, every 7 years it'd be forgiven. And then if they lost their land because of debt, every 50th year was what? The Jubilee. And it would be restored back to them. Say, hey, your grandfather lost this land 30 years ago. Now it's back to you. You got it back. Okay, let's continue. Deuteronomy chapter 15. Starting at verse 5. Only if thou carefully hearken unto the voice of Yahweh thy Most High, to observe to do all these commandments which I command thee this day. For Yahweh thy Most High blessed thee as he promised thee. Thou shalt lend unto many nations, but thou shalt not borrow. Thou shalt reign over many nations, but they shall not reign over thee. You see what he had for us? You see what he had in store for us to be obedient and the blessings he would. Brethren, let me just say this. Asatan's worst fear is the awakening of the Hebrews. Because the awakening of the Hebrews means Father is going to awaken. He's going to rise out of his throne and he's going to destroy this system. As we awaken, his blessing comes upon us. As we awaken and we seek to give Father Yah the glory, and we start to praise and to honor him, and we start to seek his spirit to dwell within us, you know what happens then, brethren? Our Satan is scared because now heaven is taking, the whole third heaven is taking notice. The Bible says heaven rejoices when one sinner repents. Imagine what happens during this awakening that they prophesied about. And so they are afraid. They are greatly afraid of us awakening. They're greatly afraid for us awakening because our awakening, check it out, it's not even about us picking up weapons. Our weapon is prayer. Our weapon is the sword of the Spirit. It's not about us getting guns. It's not about us marching on Washington. It's not about us demanding rights and voting for this Democrat or this Republican. It's about us returning to Father Yah. It's about us. We win this battle in rooms like this when I'm in there, where we get in secret and we pray and we ask the Father Spirit to take possession of us so that we can give him the glory. That's where the battles are won. That scares. You see, that's not on television. See, when I get in prayer and it's quiet, like I was this morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, I'm in here praying because I couldn't sleep. I got up and I was in here praying this morning. It's me. And I knew when I closed that door and it was dark, I knew the devil was in trouble. And he knew he was in trouble. And guess what? I had no like preconceived thing where I was going to say, I was going to get on my knees and give praise to Father Yah. That's what I was doing. And I knew when I got on my knees, devil know he's in trouble right now because I'm about to go to my Father. Brethren, that's where the battles are won. That's where this war is won. That's where this whole thing gets turned upside down. Okay? Read your Bible. Read your Bible. Start in Genesis. Go to Revelation. When you're done, do it again. Pray to your Father. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. He's going to bless us. And he's going to have a people. If he said there's going to be awakening, if he said he's going to seal 144,000, guaranteed you're going to have that. We just want to be among them. That's all. We just want to be among them. See, brethren, I was talking to my wife about this. My wife and I were walking and talking about this yesterday. If you have a consciousness to say, I know what the 144,000 are. I know they should be sealed. I want to be among them. If that is your consciousness, you are ahead of 99.9% of the Earth's population. Most of you have no clue, much less wanting to be among them. Most Christians will teach you, well, there are 144 men that are Jewish that have never had sex. They have no idea. They have no idea. Nor do they have any idea what's going to come upon this planet when they're sealed. But we do. See? And the fact that you have that knowledge, just that, when you are seeking the Father, you don't think like of the few people on the planet that even understand for half a point what the 144,000 are about, and these people that and you understand it and you're saying, I want to be among them, Father, this is your desire. Didn't Messiah say? Ask, and it shall be given. Seek, and ye shall find. Knock, and the door shall be open. Didn't he say that? See, most people take that to mean, I could go get this big time job, or I could make all this money, blah, 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 blah. No, it's for his spirit. It's to be among his people. It's to be able to stand for his glory. That's what this is about. See, and you bring that request to your Father, and you're one of the few on the planet doing it. One of the few. You go through life every day. You go to work, you talk to people. Everybody you meet, nobody knows anything about this. It's not that it's not available. They're not reading their Bible. They're not reading their Bible, and they're listening to their churches. Am I lying? They're not reading the Bible, and they're listening to their churches. They're not listening to the Spirit of the Father. They're not seeking him for his glory alone. You are, though. You are. You got to go through hell. We all going to go through hell. But it's okay. At the end of the day, these are the promises. Remember what we read? That we are partakers of a divine nature through the precious promises of the word. Isn't that what 2 Peter said? Through the precious promises of the word. This is what I'm talking about. Right here. Right here. See? So when you are praying to your father, that's right, about your cousin coming to help you, and you get asking for your father and for his precious spirit of righteousness, and you're doing it based on this. You said, and this, I'm telling you, man, I told you about the time an angel gave me $10. I think I told you that. But the reason he did that, I was deadly serious about this promise. And I said, you promised me I'd never have to borrow from somebody. You promised I wouldn't have to do it. And I was so mad because I needed $10 and I was going to have to borrow it from my friend. And that angel came. Gave me the $10. He came and gave me the $10. A tall, over 7 foot tall, dark-skinned black man. And he had these dark shades on. I couldn't see his eyes. And I saw him and he was smiling at me. And he called me by name. See, my first name, my government name is Todd. And he said, Brother Todd. And I don't know this guy. And I'm looking, and he's real tall. And he had on, I'll never forget, sky blue. He had a sky blue suit, sky blue pants. And he was dark skinned, like black dark. And he had these dark glasses on. And he's smiling. It's almost like his light coming out of his mouth. He's smiling. And he said, Brother Tom. And I'm looking, and he asked, how's your wife, Judy? He was naming my family. He said, how's your wife, Judy? How's your son, Joey? And so the man that needed the $10, that my attention was drawn to him. And I'm walking outside to tell the man that my neighbor's coming from across the street to give me $10 for him. Wait. The tall man, I don't know how he got around me, but he walked around. It was a cabbie. I owed the money to this cabbie. He was way taller than the cab. And he was standing like he was Wilt Chamberlain or something. And he was standing on the driver's side of the cab. And I'm on the passenger side talking to the cabbie. And he raised his right hand like this. I'll never forget it. He had a wad of money in his hand. And he said, Brother Todd, do you need money? And my thought was, and he knew what my thought, but my thought was, I don't even want to borrow this $10 from this man. I don't even know. But this cabbie needs this $10. And I said, yes. He said, how much do you need? And I said, $10. He said, are you sure that's all you need? And I said, yes. I didn't even think twice because I didn't want to, I'm thinking I'm borrowing money from this man. He went like this. And he turned and he reached across the car and gave it to the cabbie. That moment, the cab took my stuff because he had my stuff in the trunk of the cab. He threw my stuff on the sidewalk. He jumped in the car and left. And at that moment, my attention was drawn to the left because my neighbor had sent his son over with $10. And as he's coming, I'm looking, and I told the man was walking away. I said, wait. I said, where do I bring back your money? I'm getting paid tomorrow. I was getting paid the next day. I said, I'm going to give you back your money. He said, don't worry about it, Brother Tom. I said, I got to give you back your money. And I kept bugging him, and he told me where to take it. I turned. My man's son came on his skateboard to give me $10. Look, brother was gone. I went to the place he told me to go to. Nobody was there. So my wife and I bought a card and we signed it. We said, very much thank you for what you did for us. We put $10 in the car. We slid it under the door of the apartment. That was Sabbath. No, that was Friday. Sunday morning, early, somebody banging on my door. Son, are you Todd? Old lady. I know the old lady from the building. You live in the building long enough. You may not know everybody by name, but you know everybody by face, right? So I knew this lady. This lady liked to go to Atlantic City every weekend and gamble. So I knew who she was. Brother, are you Todd? Yes. What you slide this money under my door for? I said, the man. She said, I don't live with no man, son. I said, the man. She said, son, I told you I don't live with no man. Take your $10 back. Now, in New York, ain't nobody giving you back $10, but she did. And my wife was behind me, jumping up and down and praising the Most High, because we both knew what just happened. But I was claiming this promise. I really was. I was like, you said I wouldn't have to borrow no money, and here I'm borrowing money. I was so mad. And that angel met me right there. That's what I'm saying to y'all. When you start to look at these promises and you start to claim them to the Most High, He'll bless you. He'll take care of you. As long as you're claiming them for His glory, you're claiming them for His glory. You want to be obedient for His glory. You want His spirit. This ain't about me or you. It's about Him. See, that's the difference between His true people and everybody else on the planet. Everybody pretends to be living for the Father, but only Yah's chosen ones are ordained to live for the Father. We're ordained to do that. Okay, and He will respond to us when we call upon Him and we claim His promises and we want His spirit. I'm telling you, that's the problem that Asatan has with us. He's not worried about, you see, Whitney Houston and her daughter or Kanye. He ain't, you know why he ain't worried about them? You know why he's not worried about them? Or Kyrie, you know why he's not worried? Let me tell you why he's not worried about them. He's the accuser of the brethren. Okay. And the Messiah said, you can't serve Father and serve money. You can't serve Yah and Mammon. Isn't that what he said? So wait. You know how the devil operates. He will use Father's word against him. So when you get a Whitney Houston or you get a Kanye and they start to talk some truth or act like they coming to the truth, Asatan comes to the Father and says, you said they can't serve me and you at the same time. I gave them all that money and they not giving it up. Therefore, they belong to me. Therefore, he can kill them. You understand? Then he can kill him because he's right. He's right. If you work in his Babylon and you become rich and powerful and you decide you want to come to the truth, you better give up all that money because then he could kill you. You can't keep the money and serve the truth. Can't. Okay? You can't. Okay? So that's why you're going to see most people say, no, I was just kidding. I was just kidding. Because they don't want to deal with that. They want the money. And Asatan knows that. Okay? He knows it. But there's going to come some that's going to give up all that money. Like Lauryn Hill from the Fugees. Y'all heard of Lauryn Hill from the Fugees? That chick could sing, right? She could go. Yo, Killing Me Softly. Radio Now Here I Come. She could go. She gave it up to come to this truth. That's why she's still alive. She gave it up. Okay. But others that wanted to still keep the money, like Prodigy, wanted to still keep the money, like Prodigy, like Michael Jackson, like Whitney Houston. He said, oh, you think you're going to keep the money I gave you and try to serve the Most High too? I'm going to fix that. And you have a choice to make. You have to decide. Because if you decide for the Most High, he will protect you. But you giving up the money, he'll protect you. But if you decide, I think I can handle this money, I'm going to help people with it. Oh, Asatan is saying, oh, see, he's going to tell the Father. See, he's telling your angel, you can't protect him. He belongs to me. He's choosing that money that I gave him. Because that was the deal. Remember the deal? He told Messiah, all this will I give you if you bow down and worship me. And all these cats making 100 million, 200 million, they've sold out, man. You know, they made these signs like Jay-Z, they sold out. They ain't turning back, they're keeping that money. Okay? Don't ever think they coming to the truth. They just use this little fishing pole to get you. When you see them give up that loot, and everybody tell them they crazy, and everybody tell them they don't know what happened to them, and they lost all their money. Okay, now they coming to the truth. Because you cannot have the money and the power and the fame and think you're going to serve Yah. And again, it goes back to glory has to be Father's alone. It can't be the human agent and Father. It's got to be only the Father. And if you think you could have made all this money and you got this wealth, you'd be like Nebuchadnezzar. Is not this mighty Babylon that I have built for the honor of my glory? That's what Nebuchadnezzar said. Had to lose his mind for 7 years before he came to the truth. See? So it's got to be Father's glory alone. Can't be man's glory. Can't be. At all. Okay? At all. So now I gave y'all enough for tonight. But Deuteronomy 15, man. We just get warmed up. We just get warmed up, brethren. Please read this for yourself. Read this. Pray to the Father and read this. But I'm telling you, keep his commandments, be obedient to him, seek his spirit of perfect righteousness. No, we're not perfect. His spirit is perfect. His righteousness is perfect. His wisdom is perfect. He is the author of what is understanding. It's infinite. Messiah is his wisdom, his righteousness, his understanding incarnate. He is Yahweh, our righteousness. And because we receive righteousness and praise the Most High, and now we can render obedience for the glory of the Father, and he will bless us. Don't worry, brethren, it's exciting because we got to go through some stuff. I'm going to lose all of this eventually. All this that you see behind me, it's going to be gone. Some of y'all been in my house. It's going to be gone. Everything's going to be gone. And I know it. My wife and I know it. We were just talking about today. We're going to enjoy while we have it because we know it's going to go. It's all good, though. It's all good. Because, brethren, when we awaken, when we see the tribes come back, oh, man, when the tribes come back, when the tribes come back, when the tribes come together, that's what's going to be beautiful, man. So praise the Most High. Praise the Most High. May the Most High bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And may he lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Remember our sister Elaine, peace be upon her. Sure.